Wxdl Ecosystem is an ecosystem as a service organization that provides services, tools, and resources to participants of local entrepreneurial ecosystems. To benefit from our services, you must become a member. As a member, we will provide you with 3 specific services. Number 1, access to a team available to you 24/7, 365. Number 2, access to software and platforms that we designed and engineered specifically for entrepreneurship. And number 3, we will help you fundraise once you're ready. If you'd like to help us grow and have a passion for entrepreneurship, you can build your own ecosystem on top of our infrastructure by becoming an ecosystem leader and a pitch studio owner. To be eligible, you must meet the following criteria. Number 1, passion for entrepreneurship. Number 2, ability to build your own advisory team. Number 3, ability to build an amazing startup community. Wxdl is an online and software-based ecosystem as a service. To learn more about our concepts, please visit www.wxdlecosys.com or www.wxdlecosys.com, or you can sign up directly on our Meet360 platform at www.meet360.org or www.meet360.org. Hi guys, my name is Jean. I'm the founder and CEO of Wxdl Ecosystem. Welcome to the Wxdl Pod, episode number 5. In this episode, we're not going international. I'm staying home in Canada, in my hometown, Montreal, and we're having an amazing conversation with a super talented creator. His name is Williamson Dulce. He has one of the dopest last names that I've ever heard in the Haitian community. Him and I we're from there. We're from Haiti, both in Montreal, as I said. And man, I really love that conversation. We're probably gonna have a part 2 and part 3 because he's simply amazing. His perspective on life are amazing, and the things that he's working on right now. You got to root for him to achieve basically anything he wants to. So. Hey, by the way, it wants us to call him Billy, right? So we're gonna call him Billy. So here's our interview with Billy, and I'll see you guys at the end of it. The first question that I always like to ask, because I'm always interested in trying to understand, where you come from, so we know, like, hey, you got to this point because of obviously your background, right? Yeah. So I always try to start with this question, so where did you grow up? And, what were your interests, growing up?
I was born in '80, so I came here in Canada when I was 4, and I think my parents were just trying to find opportunities to be able to raise their children. And when I was younger, I grew up in different neighborhoods. Like time was rough, so every year we were moving to a new location. So I didn't make any friends. It was very hard to make friends. So it's after 1 year, you move to another neighborhood, another neighborhood, another neighborhood. So it was always a struggle. Then, that's the background that got me into being a little bit closer to my family, like really close to my family. And, going to school, I didn't feel racism back then because we were always in the hood. So, so we didn't have any like, how can I say that, spider sense in terms of racism. So until I moved to Pointe-aux-Trembles, and the whole thing just shifted because it was a white neighborhood. My parents wanted to allow us to have a home, so we bought our first home in Pointe-aux-Trembles, and that's when I started realizing who I was.
Yeah.
and how messed up things were in life. And that's where my struggle started, as to create myself a space where I could harvest opportunity for myself and my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was your family like? Like what they were composed of, like brothers and sisters
I
and
got I got one big bro and I got two little sisters.
oh
So
great.
we're a big family, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite interesting. The things that we went through when we were young, and the instability
Yeah.
of family really has an impact on the kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're moving from space to space, you can't make friends. It's very
Yeah.
difficult at that young age. So you always have to
Yeah.
restart,
Yeah.
and restart. And that's something that stayed with me, in the sense that I'm not afraid of change.
Yeah.
So I embrace change, and I try to adapt, and trying to create something the best out of it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I, our stories are kind of similar because I was born in Haiti as well.
Yeah,
Immigrated here when I was 4 as well.
yeah,
We first settled in LaSalle, and I remember back then LaSalle, it wasn't like a because right now there's a lot of black people in LaSalle, right?
yeah.
Jamaicans. And back in the days when I came in, about in 1990, there weren't that many black people, so I did see racism like early on, like
Okay.
real fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, yeah, and then we basically settled in Saint Michel, and that's where basically I grew up.
Okay.
Yeah, for a long time. So my second question is, so basically right now you're in technology, arts as well.
Yeah.
So when did you start being interested in those things?
I think for art is my parents. My dad
Yeah,
was a sculptor in 80. My mom was a couturier.
yeah,
So yeah, that's art. I think was something that they put in the back,
yeah,
because they came here and they want to create an opportunity. So they were looking for jobs, and art wasn't the the
yeah,
right field for them, right? So
yeah,
but I think is maybe that interest of them lacking art, maybe that got transcended to me. And
yeah,
yeah, I got interested into art because it was just a way for me to get away. Like
yeah,
I was listening to comic books. I was reading comic books. I was listening to a lot of cartoons, anime, and such and such. So I started developing that desire to create things on my own, right? And throughout my whole journey in school, I was good in math, chemistry, but art was always, you know,
yeah,
I was waiting to get into art. So
yeah,
I was always hyped about doing sculptures, all kinds of stuff. And, my interest for it got so big, my parents started being scared. They're like, yo, what are you doing? We didn't come here for you to be an artist.
You gotta be a doctor or a lawyer.
So it's, yeah, like, it's the same old
Yeah,
stories that you hear. A lot of immigrants coming here, they want you to be secure in
yeah,
life. They want you to get a good job and just get paid, and just raise your family and buy a home and get a car or something like that. So
yeah,
my journey was quite different. So I went into art. My parents freaked out, and
yeah,
uh, when I got into art at the College Marie Victorin, I've realized that technology was there.
yeah,
I'm like, why am I drawing on a paper when I obviously see that the future is destined to be on a computer?
yeah,
So I finished college. Then after that, I went into graphic design, which is assisted by computer, and I got interested into computers. And I got my first computer, and I built it, destroyed it, rebuilt it, destroyed it,
nice.
and I started understanding what all that tech was about. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yo, this is super dope. So I gotta keep an eye on this thing. So early age, I started using a lot of softwares like Adobe Suite, and
yeah,
I saw the evolution. And as an artist, you always got to stay up,
yeah,
avant-garde, which
yeah,
means you need to know what's the next big trend that's coming out, what's coming out
yeah,
in terms of design, what's coming out in terms of colors, what are the palettes of colors that are popular, the trends,
yeah,
and all of that. So I always kept an eye on what was coming out.
yeah,
And that same interest that I had for art started developing for tech. So everything that was to do about tech, I was like, okay, what's the latest thing that's happening? So um, I think that's where my interest started growing.
Yeah.
And eventually, in the art world, like 2D came in, 3D, these
Yeah.
software, Maya, Lightwave, lights, like, I was like, there's too many things happening at the same time. It's so fast, so quick. So you
Yeah.
always got to keep learning and
Yeah.
learning and learning. And that's the one thing I would say to everybody: just keep your
Yeah.
eyes open and just embrace what's actually coming your way, and
Yeah.
just educate yourself as much as you can.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I heard for the first time about Bitcoin, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is Bitcoin? My
Yeah.
wife introduced me to that. I'm like, yo, what is that? I want to make some research again. So they started teaching me about what was blockchain and crypto, and I started realizing, oh my God, this is amazing technology.
Yeah.
So I got really interested into that technology and started digging a little bit even more,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with it. And I'm like,
Nice.
okay, how do I combine art and blockchain? That was my next move. Yeah,
Great. And you've been an entrepreneur for quite some time now, for
yeah,
many, many years. So when did you decide that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? I have another question after that, but
yeah.
when did you decide that entrepreneurship would be the way for you to earn a living, but at the same time, to accomplish your goals?
Bro, my story is sad and actually fulfilling at the same time. When I finished school, the first thing that I did was to launch a business, because my dad did the same thing. He always launched a business. He had a moving company. I was 15 years old. I was moving fridge with my brother. So he always had that drive to trying to create opportunities for himself and his family. So I
Yeah.
think that drive stuck with me, and I
Yeah.
always wanted to do that. So when I
Yeah.
finished school, the first thing that I did was start a business. So I started a t-shirt company back then,
Yeah.
and it didn't work out. I had no experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I was getting into something very complicated. And eventually, what it led to is that some other people saw my talent and they're like, yo, why don't we build a business together? And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm super young, no experience. These people were a little bit further than me in life. So I started that business with them, and we created some kind of a design agency. And
Yeah.
I did a lot of work, but at the same time, I was getting exploited a lot
Yeah.
for my
Yeah.
talent, because I didn't understand what it was. I didn't
Yeah.
understand
Your worth. Yeah.
how to actually create a business and make a
Yeah.
business successful, and just respect people inside of the business at the same time.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot. I got abused a lot, and but it gave me the experience to understand uh, um, how the corporate world works.
Yeah.
So I've worked on big gigs. I've worked on one of the first album of Corneille. I've worked
Right.
on that album as an illustrator. I've worked with the first collection of T-shirt from Simons
Oh,
called Jab. So that was back then. So I learned a lot,
yeah.
and at some point I was not living properly. I didn't have enough money, so I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, you know what? Let's forget about art. Let me try to find something else. So I went into security agent. I went to customer service. I did a whole bunch of jobs like that had nothing to do with art and tech. And at a point, I was like in my life, I'm like, yo, this is going nowhere. What's wrong with me? So my dad back then had a store, and I decided to work at the store with him, and it was a family business. So I took time to just start reflecting on my life and what I wanted to achieve as a young man, young black man. And I finally realized that, I went to school for this. I love art. I love that aspect of my life, and I want to get back into it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no way the next job that I have is not in the field. So I started applying in jobs, and I got my first job at a big retailer in Canada. It's one of the biggest, and I was
Yeah.
the creative designer in that department, marketing department. I was the only black person
Yeah.
actually, which is not surprising, but
Not at all.
so I worked in the corporate world for like 4 or 5 years, and what I realized that my creative juice, was starting to fade away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, I got to do something about it. So I decided to start doing freelance at the same time while I was working. My wife was pregnant. I got married and all of that. So I started to do too many things at the same time. But that made me realize that I had a drive to create my own space, my own environment, my own schedule,
Yeah.
and to be an entrepreneur. So I was learning again how to
Yeah.
be an entrepreneur. So I had my first gig in 2010, where I landed the marketing campaign for a movie that came out in Montreal that was talking about gangs in Montreal. It's called Sortie 67 back then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the guy that I knew the producer. So he was like, yo, I bet on you. Like, let's do this. And, I worked on the campaign, designed everything,
Nice.
had a team. And, that's when I started like loving what I was doing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna jump again.
Yeah.
So finally, what end up, I left the job and I started my own agency, and I've been in this for the past 13 years now.
Yeah, great. That's a great story. That's why I like to ask those questions, because the entrepreneurs always have different stories, and it's always great. Like, you
Yeah.
never disappointed, never. Right? So, my next question will be interesting, because since your family was already entrepreneurial, but I like to ask this question because there's a lot of debate about it. Like, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? For example, in my life, there wasn't any entrepreneurs, like
Mhm.
all my family, like none of, like I'm the first one to actually got a bachelor degree. That's the first
Mhm.
thing. So
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, definitely not. Nobody went and did that. But I
Mhm.
always had that in me. But I was an athlete growing up, so I didn't care much about business or anything. But I had entrepreneurial aspect to me. Like,
Mhm.
so what would you say? Like, would you say that it's you can actually become an entrepreneur, or would you say you already had like that fiber from early on in life?
I think every human being is a creator.
Yeah.
Every human being is a creator, and you have to create.
Yeah.
The universe demands it, and you're gonna find it in your core that you need to create something.
Yeah.
You need to put something out there in the world and leave some kind of a heritage or legacy to some other people. So you have
Yeah.
to leave your mark on this world. So I
Yeah.
believe everybody has that aspect in him.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, as soon as you have a thought and you could materialize it,
Yeah.
that's creating something, right? So now, opportunity and the drive to take that creative power that you have and embrace and go through the whole journey, it's something that that could be nurturing to someone. It's something that could be learned,
Yeah.
but it all depends on what's driving you and
Yeah.
how far you want to go.
It's true.
So if you want to take that leap and just, okay, I'm tired of working for somebody, I want to create something on my own.
Yeah.
And already now you starting the conversation about it being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You have the capacity to create. Now
Yeah.
you started thinking about, oh, nah, that's the journey now that I want to follow. Then if you
Yeah.
have the drive for it, then you walk that path and you go towards that journey.
Yeah.
But I believe we all are creators.
Yeah.
It depends what is the drive, what motivates you to
Yeah.
go through that journey. You
Yeah.
could either learn it or you could go through certain events in your life that makes you want to
Yeah.
go to that path. You might
Yeah.
not know how to do it,
Yeah.
but the drive is there. You're like, yo, I'm tired of waking up 9 to 5 and working for somebody. I want to
Yeah.
do something on my own, and I want
Yeah.
to value something of my own, and I want to
Yes.
put it out there in the world.
Yeah.
That's already the spark that you need to start taking that
Yeah.
route of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's something, I don't think it's born into you, but
Yeah.
the creation
Is in you.
aspect of it
Yeah.
is in every human being.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to drive you to take that journey of entrepreneurship? It depends on your situation, your priorities, your drive, your emotion, how you feel.
Yeah.
Everything that surrounds you as a person is going to
Yeah.
lead you to either take that route or not take that route.
Yeah.
And sometimes you take the route and you think it's a good thing for you, but it's not a good thing. You're not built for this, because entrepreneurship is not easy, man. It's not easy. So the struggle is there. So you might want to get into that journey, but you might not be
it's tough.
ready.
It's tough because a lot of people are glorifying it, right? They're like, hey,
Yeah.
it's such an amazing life. It's, you're going to make a ton of money right away, but they don't explain, no, it's a process. You're
Yeah.
going to struggle at some point because I was in the same situation where, you're you're growing up in Saint Michel, you have a degree now. Now I was working for a big corporation, Brookfield Asset Management. I'm like, hey, I made it. And at some point, I was starting to think about ideas, and the ideas kept on coming. They kept on coming. They kept on coming. Like, man, let me just try to do something with it, right? And I was never like formally trained in terms of design or anything, but I always had that skill. I was using like Word to design things and stuff like that. Then I discovered Adobe XD, so I was designing on Adobe XD, and that's when I realized that actually, if I could change things in terms of the way that, like post secondary education, I would actually ask everyone to, the first degree they would need to do would be something they can actually build, a creative degree, before you get into the accounting stuff, before you get into that, like something creative, something you can actually build, right? That's the first thing I would do, because we're missing out. Everybody have ideas. Everybody has ideas. But the problem is, if you can't really, like you said, you can't materialize it like yourself, it's going to be hard. And for us, for example, Black people, it's hard for us to find great CTOs. Like, not everybody knows someone who can code or someone who can build stuff like that, right? But I really believe that, like my sons have 2 kids. I'm going to tell them, hey, you know what? Start with something creative first. And then if you want to go into the investment banking and all those type of stuff, do it after. But at least now, if you ever want to get started, you can start by yourself. You can code, you can do all those things. And I feel like it's so important. But I like your input on that. It's super interesting.
Let me add to that. My mom always told me, you need to be manual. And you need the intellectual at the same time. You need both. You can't only have one part and not the other. Myself, I could create, but I need a computer. You know what I mean? I need that manual aspect. I could work the wood and I could build something with wood. Or you know what I mean? So for me, I go on the same route as you. You need that manual aspect or that creative aspect that you could build it with your 2 hands, but you need that intellectual aspect as well, where you are thinking and planning and strategize and build something big. So I totally agree with that, man. That's for sure.
So now let's talk about 2 organizations that you have. Let's start with the Origin first, Origin Village. And then we'll touch on the adoption. But let's start with Origin Village, what it is and what are you trying to accomplish with that. And
like you could see throughout the whole conversation, my core is to create a space where I could harvest opportunities. That's what drives me. Right. So for the past 13 years, I've been working with Black entrepreneurs with my design agency. So I've been helping structure them, help them in terms of branding, give them the proper tools, the proper representation, so they look good, and it allows them to evolve in the world that we're living right now, which is so based on what we see and what we see behind what's been made in the back. So presentation is everything, like they say. So I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've realized that a lot of our entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, have difficulties. And these difficulties are not necessarily met with solutions that they could afford. And that led me to understand that, there's something that needs to be done on that end. And tech is not super accessible. You always got the first barrier of entry for tech is money. You need money to use the tech. If you want to use you want to make e-commerce, well, you need somebody to build your website. You need SEO. You need SEM. You need social media. You need this. You need advertising. So there's always a barrier of entry to use tech. So and when you look at what's happening in the world right now, there's a lot of businesses that don't have the digital maturity. They're still on the old school way of doing business, and the world is shifting rapidly because of COVID. Everything that's digital. So before, in 2019, we launched Origin Village, but the idea of Origin Village was already building in me since 2017, 18. Because I wanted to create something that could connect Black entrepreneurs and allow them to be able to work together no matter where they are in the world. So
Yeah.
that was the first idea for the app, and I've met um, a few other people, Carla Beauvais, Stephanie Jacquois, and Esther Youth throughout my whole journey, and
Yeah.
we decided to build Origin. Now, what Origin is a nonprofit that wants to help Black entrepreneurs improve their digital maturity
Yeah.
in order to be able to sustain themselves in the digital economy of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which means if they understand how to use these tools, they understand how to choose the proper tools for,
Yeah.
they understand how they need to optimize their tools, optimize their way of doing business, their structure and everything. I believe that's going to be able to help them to scale up their business and
Yeah.
have them partake into the digital economy of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So in order to do so, we had to address one of the first issue that I believe Black entrepreneurs have, which is
Yeah.
network. We don't know who's doing what, where, and how.
Yeah.
So we have it's extremely difficult for me when I started thinking about the business that I wanted to use, or I'm like, I can only have maybe 2 or 3% that comes in mind in terms of
Yeah.
Black owned businesses. I'm like, okay, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage my people, but I have a difficulty to find who's doing what and where. If I want
Yeah.
to use it, if I want to give them my black dollar, and it
Yeah.
becomes very difficult.
True.
So the first app we wanted to create was to create an app where we could have all the Black businesses subscribe to that app, not a website. We didn't want it to create a social media because it's already existing. We wanted
Yeah.
to create a mobile app where Black owned businesses could subscribe themselves to that platform. And eventually, the platform will evolve. We'll add more features. We'll add ads. We'll add um, certain things that is going to be able to help them to
Yeah.
collaborate at the same time.
Yeah.
But the idea was to create an app to gather these people at the same place. And right now, after George Floyd died, got murdered, everybody wanted to buy Black.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
wanted to support Black businesses, but
Yeah.
everybody was asking, where do I go to do that? How do I support them? I don't know who they are. I don't know how to find them.
Yeah.
So that was the first use case of building the app we call Unite and Prosper. So we created
Yeah.
that app. We have currently right now 360 business subscribed to the platform. So at least there's one option for you to say, oh, Unite and Prosper. I just open the app and I choose search the categories. They're around me. I know which Black business and I can go and support. And
Yeah.
it's a tool that I actually use a lot because I'm really supportive of Black owned businesses. So before I go outside of my community, I like to find somebody in my community that could do that and encourage them because
Yeah.
we need that. We know how
Yeah.
difficult it is for them to go by in that period of time of COVID.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Origin Village, that's what we want to do. We want to help these Black owned business accelerate the transition to the digital economy and digital world by utilizing the proper tools, the proper strategies in order to scale up their business.
Yeah. That's a great model. And by the way, the app looks good. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful app. I love the
Thank
color.
you.
Yeah, you can tell like you took your time to make a beautiful app. So congrats on that.
Thank
And
you.
in terms of scale, probably going to talk about that with Greg. But
Mhm.
but we have basically team members in the U.S., in Europe, Africa, because Greg is in actually South Africa. So
Yeah.
if you ever need, if you want like whenever you want to start scaling that, and you would need help, for sure we're going to help you out.
We're looking forward to that because
Yeah.
there's a saying in I don't know how to say in English, but ça me revient toujours en français. Un prophète n'est jamais reconnu chez lui.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you have more
Yeah.
success outside of where you're from
Yeah.
than where you're from.
Yeah.
So scaling up and going somewhere else could be a good thing for
Yeah.
Unite and Prosper because you could be welcome somewhere. People are going to be, oh
Yes.
my God, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But when you
Yeah.
deal with your own people, they're like, yo, what is
Oh.
that? Come on, I have no time for this.
It's so true.
So it's so
Yeah.
true. And for some
Yeah.
reason, you like, why is it? But it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
I would think like there's a lot of Black owned business in Canada. I
Yeah.
would think that there's a
Yeah.
lot of them. So, the way the system is built, society is built, is just it's difficult to outreach and get your message out.
Yeah.
And as a nonprofit,
Yeah.
funding is already difficult.
Yeah.
So not only as a Black entrepreneur, I'm seeing some discrimination, systemic
Yeah.
things in place just to make sure that I don't get to where I want to get. But
Yeah.
even as a nonprofit, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because there's a statistic that came out that says 0.2% of philanthropy funding are
Yeah.
giving to Black-led organization.
True.
0.2%.
That's
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Black nonprofit don't have money to be able
Yeah.
to sustain organization or businesses that needs
Yeah.
to strive. So we facing the same problem with
Yeah.
Origin. We facing the problems of, okay, we need funding. We have these great programs that we want to put in place, but we're limited in terms of funding. So it's limited for us to do any kind of move. So we want to
Yeah.
improve the app, but
Yeah.
it's difficult. We want to
Yeah.
create a program, but it's
Yeah.
difficult. So I believe that when you start seeing these things, there's new models that are existing that you guys find another route
Yeah.
to find your founding and build your business model in the sense that you're going to be able to do not depend on the government, do not depend on anybody. So
Exactly.
I saw lately a creator that created an NFT funding
Yeah.
for George Floyd, and that NFT sold, and he got major news and all of that. So I'm thinking this is a new tech
Yeah.
that allows you now to get funding if you could bring a collaborative group of creatives
Yeah.
to create NFTs, then you could get
Yeah.
funding from that, because if they
Yeah.
sold at the auction, you get a major amount of money for it, then that could
Yeah.
help you fund your business or your nonprofit. So I'm thinking like there's other solutions out there.
Yeah.
Any other nonprofit, I suggest you to start looking and digging into what's out there and
Yeah.
find a business model that's sustainable on
Yeah.
its own without having to depend on other entities to give you funding
Yeah.
to get your stuff going. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's so true. Like for us, like like often when I meet someone in Montreal and I'm like, hey, here's this business that I've been building for the past 4 years. Like, man, we don't know about you guys. Like, where you guys, what you guys are doing? I did that on purpose. Like one of our first move that we did, I actually registered a tech company in India. That was my first move that I made. So
yeah,
instead of doing outsourcing, I was like, man, I'm just gonna have my own team. So I got my CTO. My CTO is there, a team of about 12 designers and developers there. So and then I found partners in other parts of the world and stuff like that. And actually our main market is actually India. And that's what we do. Like we assist entrepreneurs basically launching businesses. But our approach is like business engineering, because I actually believe that a
okay,
business is a machine. You got to put the right components in it. So
yeah,
what we've been doing, we created software specifically for entrepreneurship. We have a communications platform, a little bit like Slack, but
okay,
specifically for us, it's called Meet 360. So doing that, what's happening is that we were able to reach out to a ton of people across the globe. So I'm helping Africans in Africa. I'm helping Africans in Europe. I'm helping Indians. I'm helping people in the States. So
yeah,
that's what I saw at the very beginning, because it was hard for us to, nobody was in our community, not in our community was taking me seriously, right?
yeah,
Even if, you know what I mean? So that's how we got to where we are today. And the way that we financed the business was that, we were building internal projects. But
yeah,
then I was like, man, I have all those developers, I have all those designers. Let's just sell websites and app developments, and then let's use that money to basically finance the operations.
yeah,
And that's basically how we got going, and that's where we are today. And now we're at the stage where we're ready to scale. So that's why Greg now in South Africa and all those moves. But you're right, like it's hard as I've never pitched to a venture capitalist, never ever. And when I look at the type of businesses that they invest in, I'm not that interested in pitching to them, because I'm like, they'll not even understand like who I am. Like if I just look at the type of people they invest in, like there was this guy that I approached, and I was like, hey, working on this business, blah blah. And he seemed a little bit interested, right? And it was like, and then he replied to one of my emails and he said, hey, I'll get in touch with you at some point in time, right? Never got back to me. But I still have him on LinkedIn, and I keep seeing the type, whenever he invests in someone, he announces it.
yeah,
And it's never someone that looks like me, right? Never
yeah,
ever. So
yeah,
there's this barrier that they don't. I don't even think they trust that. Hey, can this guy really make money for me? Like I've never seen that or whatever,
yeah,
right? So I like for a non for profit, I can understand that it has to be more even harder.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the same bias in society replicating in all these industries, and
Yeah,
it has been there forever because in the westernized world, that's what it is.
yeah,
So you can't be surprised about it, but it's just also shocking to see that it keeps on persisting
yeah,
into the space that we are. Like I'm looking into blockchain right now,
yeah,
and it's there too.
yeah,
You got marketplaces for NFTs, but
yeah,
they're who owns these marketplaces, right?
yeah, yeah,
Who actually select or curates these marketplaces?
yeah,
So you start seeing it's the same things that's being replicated. So at the end of
yeah,
the day, what it brings me to understand that you need to create your own,
yeah,
and just have the different approach of
yeah,
you know don't go down the road that they went. So
yeah,
um I think that's very important for us to understand as
yeah,
black creators. And it's just we can't replicate the same model that's out there right now. The model is not working. It's not working
exactly,
for us.
exactly.
So might as well try to create something completely different. And
Yeah,
you might not get help from your own community. At some point, they're gonna say, "Yo, you're crazy."
yeah, yeah,
But once you build it, like they say, there's a saying that you build it, they come.
yeah, yeah,
So you just got to build and keep on building what you have the guts, feeling, and conviction that it's gonna
yeah,
work. And that's what I'm
yeah,
doing with the adoption.
yeah,
I know people won't be like, "Yo, what's this dude is doing, man? Comic books, yo, you crazy." So you always got to push forward into what you believe in is right, and
yeah,
just don't replicate what's been out there. It's not
true.
working out. It's not
Yeah,
working out for us anyways right
yeah,
now. So
yeah,
just create something new
yeah,
models of distribution of wealth
yeah,
and redistribution of wealth as well. So
yeah,
and you want to leave a legacy and inheritance for
exactly.
your people. So
Yeah,
just find new models basically. And I think the
yeah,
model already existed
yeah,
because they were practicing back in the days by
yeah,
our people in Africa. So
yeah,
they were very wealthy people. So
yeah,
they knew a way of working with other nations and they exchange and they built certain models that were very
yeah,
successful. We're not
yeah,
aware of about it now because history doesn't teach us that.
yeah,
But I think the model comes from the origin. And
yeah.
that's why the name Origin Village came
That's
from
great. That's great.
because it goes back to the origin of how we used to do things and it worked out for
Yeah,
us as
yeah,
so now we want to take that and make a village that's on the net on the digital world and just bring back these models and
yeah.
make sure that these models are sustainable for the future.
Great, great. Let's talk about the adoption
Yeah.
and NFTs and how you got to that point. But I'm very excited for that. I feel like I'm really interested in everything that's NFT because one of the things that I realized is that artists they before that they didn't have like a specific technology that could make them money and that could help them basically achieve what some of these great entrepreneurs were actually achieving with
Yeah.
software and everything. So I'm really excited about that. But how did you get into you touched it a little bit, but how did you get into the NFT and then the adoption and I see there's a lot of things happening on social media with that. So how did you get started with that?
The adoption started in the idea of the adoption started in 2018.
Yeah,
Like I told you, I was getting interested into blockchain. So
yeah,
blockchain, there's many aspects of blockchain. People think it's only digital currency.
yeah,
There's a way more than that. So
yeah,
blockchain allows you to do a whole bunch of different things. But one of
yeah,
the use cases that people hear all the time is cryptocurrency, right?
yeah,
So I got into cryptocurrency. I got into understanding what it was. I invested in cryptocurrency in certain projects. I traded cryptocurrency, and um, and I started realizing that it's a great technology.
yeah,
It's risky when you don't do your own research.
yeah,
But once you start doing your own research and you educate yourself on the matter, then you could understand that technology allows a lot of things to happen. And it
yeah,
actually leveled the playing field where the middleman is no longer here.
yeah,
You can interact directly with somebody trustless
yeah,
and don't have to worry because everything is part of a smart contract.
yeah,
So that got me very interested into blockchain. So at the time, what I did was how do I get involved into a project to learn more about
yeah,
the space? how it works, how it functions. So eventually, what I started, there's a company I invested in, and I started being in the Telegram group. They have a Telegram is one of the place for a lot of project in crypto and blockchain. Telegram, Reddit, Twitter. So I started being involved and checking out what was going on,
Yeah.
learning a little bit more, be part of the community, understand how it works and how it functions. And I end up to be a community member, and I created a group inside of that community,
Yeah.
uh, which called X Force. Right, they called it X Force. So then we started being involved with talking and helping other community member to understand the tech, to understand how it works and all of that. So that thing expanded and expanded. And back then, what I was doing, I was using my skill as an illustrator to create avatars.
Yeah.
So I was doing avatars for the CEO of the company. I did avatars for
Nice.
a whole bunch of guys, and community members was like, "Yo, we want our own avatar." So I was spending hours and hours in creating these avatars for free, and I was giving them away. So people were like, "Oh my god, we want your avatars." So eventually, what happens is that like the spark of the idea came to, "Yo, I want to create a comic book that talks about blockchain, that could educate people about blockchain, but at the same time that brings my passion of superheroes and anime inside of that world, right?" So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna create the comic book, and it's gonna be called The Adoption. That's where the idea of The Adoption came from.
Nice.
Now, uh, you know that NFT's been around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
CryptoKitties was there. What's this? Oh, CryptoPunks was there, but it didn't have the popularity. And what it allows for people to have is the intellectual property of their
Yeah.
creation that follows them on the digital world.
Yeah.
That's what NFT does. It helps you to retain your intellectual property on a piece.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you always get back
Yeah.
money for what you
Yeah.
created. And that's what the major issue of what the art world is actually living. Can you imagine if Basquiat had NFTs when he was living on,
Whew. Yeah.
right? If he
Yeah.
had that, his legacy would be like, you would
Yeah.
buy an NFT of Basquiat, yo, bro. We're talking about billions of dollars right now.
Yeah.
So artists always had issues with their intellectual property in
Yeah.
terms of the legacy, the heritage they want to leave. People always abuse them.
Yeah.
As an artist myself, I got abused for my artwork, right? So and you think about it, when you create something, uh, that person that created Nike logo, can you imagine if it was an NFT or the intellectual property was on to him until now?
Yeah.
That person would always get some residual income coming from that creation that they did.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's what NFT allows you to do, is
Yeah.
that your creation remains your creation no matter where it goes.
Yeah.
Now, people could resell it, people could make money with your creation. It's not a problem, but you always get something back. And I think
Yeah.
that's where it becomes super interesting for Black creators and any
Yeah.
kind of creators. If you're a marginalized group and you create things, just
Yeah.
dig into the tech and see
Yeah.
how it could benefit you, and to interact directly with your fan base, your audience. You look at Gary Vee right now. Gary Vee is using NFTs, but
Yeah.
this dude has a major audience already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you imagine how he could leverage his audience in order to
Big time.
create more stuff and be
Yeah.
and dig a little bit more into the aspect of NFT? Because people right now are just thinking about, okay, I put a piece out, I sell it, and but there's way more that could be accomplished with it. You could
Yeah.
put tickets, events inside of it. You could give them access to certain things,
Yeah.
meetings, and all a bunch of stuff. So I think right now we're just getting started into that
Oh
world.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's going to evolve, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do with the adoption.
Yeah.
So when I heard and I got educated about NFT, I'm like, oh man, there's ways for me to utilize that with my comic book and
Yeah.
allow people to get real collectibles
Yeah.
of my characters of my comic book as an NFT, but also as a physical piece. Because I
Yeah.
believe right now we live in an analog world. Right now, if I'm talking to you, is because I got a computer. It's physical.
Yeah.
I need that computer to get inside of the virtual world, right?
Yeah.
So you always need that transition. I think we need to have physical and digital combined.
Yeah.
One needs to feed each other, right? So that's why the adoption, everything that I put as an NFT is also a physical item. So
Yeah.
you got the book, it's a collectibles book. Then you get that physical piece of the book, but you also get the digital version of it.
Yeah.
So I got figurines coming out. You get the real figurine, but you also get the digital figurine. So these are the type of things that I'm thinking, and I'm exploring the world. I'm like, oh, there's so many things that I could create right now. It's unbelievable. But at the same time, like I told you earlier, my goal and my core is to create space for opportunities.
Yeah.
So the comic book as not only me as an artist, but as other people as artists. So I
Yeah.
got a group of guys that I know that are amazing creators. And I'm like, yo, bro, how do I get your art inside of my comic book? We have a panel here. We could make a scene. Like my storyline is this, but I want to integrate you some way, somehow.
Yeah.
So with AR, augmented reality, which I incorporated inside of my comic book, you could take your cell phone, look a page, the page animates, or there's a sound or there's something, but inside of that piece right there, maybe there's a painting on the wall.
Yeah.
And you could click on the painting on the wall and it comes
Nice.
into AR and you could see the painting of that artist that actually
Yeah.
created it.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, Jesus, it's dope. It's dope. I love that artist. I want to purchase that painting. Boom, NFT. Then you could purchase the virtual NFT, and that
Yeah.
artist is going to send you the real physical piece. So these are the things that I have in mind, and I'm exploring, and I'm digging more into NFT in that world, and I want to create something very interesting so people could immerse themselves in the world
Yeah.
of the comic books a little bit deeper, because
Yeah.
just reading the book is one thing, but once you get inside of AR and VR and everything that could be created, man, it's just infinite what you could
It's
do.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I love the idea. I love the idea, and I can't wait for it. Greg, I'm gonna let you go ahead and with your questions.
Yeah. All I want to say is Billy, Billy, Billy. You just blowing our mind here, right? It's deep conversations and discussions, and my mind is just racing because we've got some great guys on. We've met on this podcast as well. Some guys doing some fantastic things in the blockchain space. And so we never really touched on the creative and the arts and the culture side, which is what you bring, and that's what's exciting.
Yeah.
NFT and even the whole blockchain education. We just had a discussion, I think it was in the last pod, where there's such a huge missing piece. How do you bring that education to the masses? Because as we sit here, I'm sure Jay and I, we just, NFT is just a dot for us, just started to delve in it a bit. I started to look around Binance and I see they launched some stuff. So, that whole thing that you're plugging with adoption is amazing. So I normally just touch on two questions on growth. The first one, I just want to touch on, like, hearing your story. There was a whole lot of things that kind of set this growth mindset in play from a very early age. And then there's the other aspect, which is, the right brain, creative thinking, creative juices that need to flow. So in Billy's day, what are some of the priming tools that you do to keep at your A game all the time?
Oh man, I love researching. For me is what parts that fuels me on any project. Before I touch anything, I would spend hours and hours researching. So that might be in books, that might be in online, that might be video learning, podcast. For me, the learning aspect is what brings everything together. If you're not open to learn, then you got a big issue. So you got to learn, and you got to see who's doing this and who's doing what, and who's making mistake and who's not making mistake. So for me, that's what it is what keeps me sharp. And I'll be honest with you, and design move very, very, very fast. You got artists that are coming up, they're just like tremendous what they do, and you got to learn from the younger people. I'm getting old. You used to look at my beard. So I want to learn from these young kids, and you got to surround yourself with the younger generation and understand how they move. So the learning for me is part of the process of everybody. Should be part of the process for any creators. It's just you got to learn what's going on. You got to absorb what's going on. You got to transform what's going on as well. Because at the end of the day, transformation is what we do. We transform things.
Super.
We take things, we match them, we stick them together, we flip it, we do all kinds of stuff just to be able to put that thing into our liking and our perspective and how we wanted to move forward, right? So we transform a lot. So transforming a lot is, you need something, so you got to go and search for that thing that you want to transform. So like I gave you an idea, right now I'm struggling with what you call the use case for your tokens, like use case for tokens. Like you see a whole bunch of people, they're doing like tokens and all of that. But if you don't have a solid use case for a token, it's worthless. So you got to face the problem that you're seeing and find a solution for it. And you need to research. Maybe somebody else already resolved it. Yeah, we think like we the only one that, oh, I got this idea. Nah, yo, there's billions of people in this world, man. They got ideas too. So most of the time, these ideas already exist.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is that you're going to take it and you're going to transform it to your specific solutions that you need, right? So what keeps me motivated and inspired and is research, is to keep my eyes open, to keep my mind open to what's happening out there. And at least that's the first step, right? Once you get that first step, then after that you need the drive to actually pursue these things. And once you find what you want to pursue and you want to do it, you need to execute, because ideas are useless unless they're executed. So that part of the drive to keep always innovating and being sharp is the execution. You could search for ideas, learn, but you don't execute nothing. That means you can't materialize what you have in your mind. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's the execution part is so important right now, nowadays, is that you need to execute what you have in terms of mission and what you want to move forward with. Did that answer the question? Because I'm all over the place sometimes.
Yeah, that's great. Because what you're saying is exactly, what I read the other day. They say like knowledge is not power; it's applied knowledge that's power. So, that's exactly what we're saying.
Amazing.
And then the only other question I've got for you is these business components that just complement each other so well, and what's those scaling plans? Like we spoke about Africa, what's in your head in terms of the growth and the scale of these different components? Is it just Canada bound for now? Are you coming to the motherland, or what's your plans?
Oh man, bro, you're touching on a very good subject right now. My plan was never to be something local. It was always to be something international, because I think Black people are everywhere. So I want to see them everywhere. So Origin Village is, we're starting here because proximity is the first thing that comes in mind when you start a business, right? So you want to be able to build with what you got and with the assets that's available to you. So, but the idea is to create a tech village that's in the digital world. So eventually, any kind of business could subscribe to the platform and get that kind of education that we're trying to give in terms of transition into the digital world, right? So I want to expand as much as I can, because that's the vision, the global vision I had. Now, in terms of the motherland, I always want to go back, and that brings me back to my journey as a person. Where did that come from? So I made my DNA test last year, and I see that.
Did you?
I did, and I'm come from Sierra Leone. That's
okay.
On my mother's side, 100% is Sierra Leone. So I'm like,
wow.
In 2020, I planned a trip to Ghana, and COVID came, and I was so pissed, bro. You know how much that got me pissed, because I was supposed to go with my entire family. We're supposed to go to Ghana and spend at least 2 to 3 weeks there. And, COVID just messed up everything. I believe the future of tech is in Africa. That's what I believe. We got the youth. So you got the creative juice there. You got the population. You got the opportunity that you could give to the to this continent. just a few puzzle that needs to be put in place. But I believe the future of the world depends on Africa. Unless, for me, I'm already thinking I'm already over there. The adoption illustrator is from Ghana. So I'm already working with people located in the motherland. Because my comic books is not only Montreal based. I got people from Malaysia. I got people from Africa. I got people from Haiti. I got people from the United States. I got people from United Kingdom. I got people in Singapore. So my comic book has tentacles everywhere in terms of creatives. So I'm working with multiple creatives everywhere, and I'm trying to keep a whole bunch of Black creators together. It's not always easy because of time zone, but my idea was always to be global. And comic book is global. Every nation has some type of superhero anime or some type of comic book that they could connect with, or they may be connected to that Asian manga style, and they like it, they get inspired from it. So, I think it's a global phenomenon that you could see right now. It's picking up even more because Netflix is actually doing a lot of animated series. You see animated series on Primes, you see animated, it's everywhere. So I think it's growing right now, and it's growing internationally. So why would I stick myself to Canada and United States? No, I want to expand as much as I can. But in order to do so, you got to take baby steps, because it's not always easy, right? And so you got to take your time to do it. But I believe the motherland is where I want to be. Physically, spiritually, and mentally. That's where I want to be. But
and when you look at talking about Ghana, currently, and Jay and I were talking about this, if you think about Africa, infrastructure, history, normally it's South Africa comes up first, right? Because of the whole Mandela legacy and all of that. And straight away, second now, Nigeria is like shooting the lights out, unicorns popping up everywhere. And then now Ghana is like really coming to show, Rwanda. So Africa is, everybody knows this is where Google's putting up shop, Amazon, Twitter, everyone's coming. Twitter is just setting up in Ghana at the moment. So you're absolutely right. The future is Africa, and players like you and the rest of the guys that are in our 1 billion Black founders kind of umbrella that we're building, we're looking to collaborate big with you in the next, in this year, next year, because I think there's a whole lot of diaspora that we need to bring into Africa as well, because systemic stuff still exists in Africa. And so for the diaspora that sits out, there are some advantages you've picked up, even though it's not the sweetest ride, but we want to bring that talent back as well. So we look forward to chatting with you even further.
Hey, my man, you said something very, very key right there. And we want to go back. I know a lot of people don't want to go back. So myself, I want to go and visit. So this summer I'm planning a trip to a couple of places. But like you said, the future is there. Now we got to be able to connect our people no matter where they are. And, the digital world allows us to do that. But physically, I think it's a place where I want to be as well. Now, for the most part, for me, tech is something that we have to be careful with, in the sense of whoever's creating that tech owns that tech. So seeing big players coming in Africa, it's a good thing, but we have to be careful as well. Big players needs to come from Africa as well. So you need your own sort of social media big tech giant, but that's owned in Africa. You don't need necessarily to have Facebook in Africa. It's already in Facebook. People could access, right? So I'm looking forward to see these big techs coming from Africa, and that's going to be exported to the world. That's what I want to see.
The other way around.
I want to see the other way around. I want to see Rwanda come up with, I know it's a big tech hub in Rwanda, and I'm like, I want to explore that country. But I want to see big tech coming from Africa. And I know there's a few tech that I saw on, I think it's in payments or something with mobile.
PayStack.
It's called River PayStack. I forgot the
Flutterwave
name.
and Paystack, both from Nigeria.
Yeah, and there's a friend of mine is he told me about a company that's actually almost like Amazon in Africa, but their head
Yeah.
office in Germany.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand? So, you know, tech is good. Yeah, I appreciate that. There's a certain situation in Africa where, you know, you have to think about Wi-Fi, data, how it's being used, and all of that. So the infrastructure is not as in the westernized world. So tech needs to be adapted to that environment, right? But I believe,
Yeah.
and I hope, and businesses like you guys, we have to build big tech from Africa, export it to the world, instead of having these big giants coming in Africa and exploit whatever is already there, because that's part of the same old scenarios of people coming and just exploiting the
It's taking everything
resources,
out.
the
Yeah.
resources, right? Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, when you think about all these big techs, they need attention. As soon as they got your attention, they got your data. Once they got the data, they could advertise, they could monetize you as much as they want, right? So I want to see it the other way around, where we monetize our own and we show it to the world, and the world comes to us and enjoy that culture and that tech that we bring.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to touch base on that. And I think it's very key that people understand that. So me, myself, as an entrepreneur, I don't want to come to Africa and say, I'm going to bring my big tech over there. And I want to come in a sense where, okay, how can I create with you guys? And how can we leverage whatever I have and make sure that everybody has the fair share? It's for me, it all brings down to a more human way and respectful way to do business.
To connect. Yeah.
It all comes down to that. Because if you're only here to exploit, then you're going to exploit. That's it.
Exactly.
Right? But for me, it's more about how can we collaborate, build something, and scale it up so the whole world can see the culture, the tech, the expertise, everything that we got. So everybody can enjoy what we got. Because right now we're enjoying everybody else stuff, but I want to enjoy what we got. So
exactly,
that's very key for me in that conversation. And I want people to understand that.
Yeah.
If I'm not going, I don't want to go to Africa just to exploit the people. I want to see what is possible, and the knowledge that I got, how can I build something from there so it could flourish and go to the whole world, and everybody's going to be able to benefit from it, specifically Africa.
Yeah. Nicely said.
Yeah.
Guys,
all right.
Very appreciated.
Yeah, but I think we're definitely going to have a part 2 here as well. I can guarantee you.
Conversation is great. I love the conversation because, you know, Greg and I were working on 2 big initiatives right now. The first one is the 1 billion Black Founders Accelerator, where I literally want to compete, you know, with Y Combinator and all those type of guys in the accelerator space, because, you know, like we have issues in terms of funding for startups, but when you look at, you know, what's the percentage of Black founders that get accepted in those big accelerators such as Y Combinator, 500 startups, Techstars, only about 3 to 4% every year, right? So that's where the idea of 1 billion Black founders comes from, where we want to be able to fund those companies. In the meantime, we also launched One Africa Startup Accelerator, which is more like a service-based accelerator, but the fee is really low. The fee is about like $12.99. It's nothing, right? Just to cover the software that we give them access to. But the goal for me was always to come to a country and give, not take. You know, we're in India right now. We're helping entrepreneurs in India, and I'm giving things to them so they can build great businesses. Because to me, Africa is definitely the future in terms of continent, the fastest growing. A lot of young people, educated young people.
Yeah,
India has the fastest growing country, and you see like the next Silicon Valley is Bangalore in India, right? So those 2 markets are our main markets. But my goal with our company is to go out there and to give, to make them achieve the goals that they want to achieve, and not to take. You know, the model of going somewhere and just take, like
we've seen it.
Done. Yeah,
we've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
It's been there for centuries, and we're
Exactly.
what did it do? What did it do? What's the background?
Yeah.
What's the pedigree? When you look at the history of the pedigree of that system, you're like, oh, there's still people suffering. So that's what I was saying earlier. New models
Yeah.
redistribute wealth, and and distribute wealth. So we need these new models, and these new models need new creatives, people that have actually a different set of eyes. They're not in the westernized world. They're not in the we need new sets of eyes to approach the problem in a different sense and just bring new solutions, basically.
Exactly. So we'll be happy to work with you, because in my vision for that 1 billion Black founder accelerator, I want to bring a ton of people, so they can be part of it, and so they can explain certain part of how to build a great business. So I'll be happy to keep you posted on that. We're actively fundraising right now. But I'll definitely keep you posted on that.
Please do.
So it was go ahead.
Please do keep me posted. I want to know.
And,
I'm super happy every time I see Black entrepreneurs succeed. I don't like the word succeed, but I like to see Black entrepreneurs go through that journey to do better, improve things, and just make things more accessible for some people. It's just like that motivates me, that makes me super happy, and I'm always willing to partake into these kind of journeys. So please keep me posted on it.
Great, fantastic. Greg, anything else?
Nah, I loved it. And we're definitely gonna have a part 2. So
I'll
questions.
I told you it's the hometown finish. It is the hometown.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Billy.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Have a great day, guys.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Right. Let's wrap it up. And as I said, it was an amazing conversation with Billy Dulce, an amazing founder, creator, been in business for a long time, is building great things for the Black community. He's going after the NFT industry, and he's starting with, his own creation, right? So, hey, like I said, we got to root for him. We got to make sure that we support him in his initiatives, and we're gonna invite him back so we know where they are in terms of the progress, and we're definitely going to participate, in anything that he does to help out. So I'll see you guys next week. Take care of yourselves.